Hi folks, I'm Richard Friedman and welcome to my political cartoon countdown for May 29th, 2021. Well, we made it through May, so let's keep on going. Every week we get together and we do the most popular cartoons on Twitter based upon impressions, and I put them in order and we do the countdown up to number one. This week we have 4 cartoons up to the number 1 position cartoon. And before we get started, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I have a series of books on the President Trump presidency, starting out with the 2016 race, right up to the last day of the administration in 2020. And now I'm working on a 2021 book of political cartoons. So anyway, I hope you would take a look at them, and if you want to see them, all my books and the samples of the cartoons, all you have to go is to Richard's, no apostrophe S, just Richard's Books of Political Cartoons.com, and no spaces, again, no apostrophe S, just plain Richard's, small letters, no spaces, no apostrophe S. And all you have to do is go there, and it's like a Disneyland of political cartoons. You could read through all the samples of all my books. And if you want to just look at my most recent ones, all you have to go is to Twitter, and it's Bronx Cartoonist, handle RJF Cartoons. That's where I'm from. I'm from the Bronx, and every time I kind of think about it, I like to reflect on a story or something familiar. I could just think about the winters. Now that it's getting hot here, you know, I kind of like to think about the winter time, going sleigh riding in the lots in the Bronx. Every Bronx neighborhood had a lot. It was like the local place, you know. It was like everybody went to the lot. We used to sleigh ride down the lot, and boy, it was something. It was like boom, and you'd go out. Sometimes you'd go out into the street, and you just say a prayer, and you go underneath the cars. It was really neat driving down those lots. Today, everything's all built up. There's buildings all over the place. I don't think there are any more lots in the Bronx, you know. But in those days, every neighborhood in the Bronx had a lot, and that was it for the winter time. And in the summertime, you used to have well, that's a different story. Anyway, so I want to get to the political cartoon countdown, and starting off here. First of all, I'd like to show you my book before we get started on the countdown. This is my latest book for 2020, right here, and it encompasses the whole year of the last year of the Donald J. Trump presidency, and that's the book. And basically, I should say the last year of the first administration. We don't know. There might be a second administration. It's possible the way things are going. I mean, it's possible. Anything is possible. So I say the last days of the first Trump administration. Okay. So anyway, this is the book, and you can read a little bit about in the back. I wrote a little bit about telling you about the book and stuff. And again, it's on my website, Richard's Books of Political Cartoons.com, and you could read all sample cartoons and go back to the books that I had written before, up to starting with 2016. So here's a cartoon that I'm going to show you. I'm going to do it back from exactly 1 year ago today, May 29th, 2020. Here's the cartoon from May 29th, 2020, right here. There's George Washington in the background, President Trump in the office there. George Washington looking on. And here it is. Trump denies knowing about the racist origins of his "when the looting starts, the shooting starts" phrase that he tweeted as the George Floyd killing exposes failures of police reform. What the president said in his denial and where he conceivably might have heard the phrase but did not say. Because he said he didn't know where he heard it from. I remember that. You know, it was one of those things. So here he is explaining that right here. I've heard that phrase for a long time. I don't know where it came from or how it originated. I might have heard it on the South Park cartoon show. So, you might have heard it there. Okay. It's a joke. You know, I don't try to put anybody down, nobody. I just try to make a joke and make people think and just to think about what's going on rather than the news. You see this and you see that. Here it's just humor and facts, something you don't get anywhere else, I don't think. The cartoons you read like are just a one-line shots, and here you get the scenario and you get the joke. So I have like an info cartoon. This is really a book of info cartoons. Basically conveys what happened and puts a joke, and you are the boss. You decide how you want to take it. So that was 1 year ago today. George Washington, President Trump, the American flag. There's the Oval Office. Okay, let's get started on the countdown. Starting with numero cuatro, number 4. Here we have Josh Hawley reflecting on the January 6th riot, that he was there. And just to give you the background in front of the Capitol. Okay, I'll read you the background. Senator Josh Hawley, who voted against the January 6th commission to investigate the riot, to find out how it happened, how it originated, where the failures were, all these things in a methodical way and a bipartisan way with Republicans and Democrats, so nobody can accuse each other of falsifying information for political purposes. So it's like it's like a cathedral investigation, but they don't want that. They don't want that. Anyway, and who, as a GOP senator, objected when lawmakers met at the Capitol on January 6th. So he objected to going it forward after the riot, and in the evening when they came back in, he objected to ratifying the president, Joe Biden, as the legitimate president elected. He wanted no part of that, of that ratifying process. So Medicare to serve for victory. So he wasn't going to go. He didn't go along with that, and faced backlash after a photo appeared to show him giving a closed fist salute. There he is with a closed fist salute. In front of the Capitol. There he is, closed fist salute. To the rioters as they stormed the building. Now, this is the key to the cartoon. Now, says he doesn't regret the fist pump. Doesn't regret the fist pump and claims it was a slur. To suggest he gestured to people to a slur, it was disrespectful to him, and it was slander, basically, he's saying here. just people involved in the criminal riot. It was a slur to suggest he gestured to people involved in the criminal riot. Quote, that's his word, criminal riot. Hawley's conceivable salute to beautiful birds over Capitol on January 6th, explanation. So if he wasn't saluting the rioters with his fist, then he might have been saluting the birds. He wasn't saluting the police because they were nobody was going around to be looking at him. They were involved in what was going on. So, and if he wasn't saluting the police, and he wasn't doing this saluting the rioters, then he must have been saluting the birds. So that's how he would say it here. And then he says here, I know these beautiful birds flew in to support President Trump. They are my Stop the Steal birds. So these are Stop the Steal birds that he's saluting, flying over the Capitol. Look at all those Stop the Steal birds. Okay. Numero tres, number 3. Here we have Rudy Giuliani, former mayor of America after 9/11. Okay. The $64,000 Rudy Giuliani question to be determined by his seized communications. So you remember when they broke into his apartment, his office, and they took all this equipment out. So that's what they're going through now to make this determination. Did Giuliani know that the Ukrainians were trying to funnel false information through him to influence our election? So they were using Giuliani as basically a conduit to supply our intelligence and our apparatus with misleading information that would lead to the downfall of then running for president candidate Joe Biden. So they wanted information on candidate Joe Biden, and they were giving him information. Apparently, if you put it all together, that's the only way it makes sense, that they were giving him information that was not confirmed, or to give it the best spin you could give it, to say it was not confirmed, or to say it was false, misleading, whatever way you want to put it. It wasn't kosher, 100%. That's for sure. So trying to funnel false information, it was false information. So if they say it was false, these are reliable sources. It was false information. So they were using Giuliani as a sort of like a dupe in that respect, but the determination has to be made is whether he was a willing dupe, or whether he was sucked into the scheme for President Trump and broke the law for President Trump, knowing that it was false information. So that's the dividing line there. That's the Rubicon there. Once you cross the Rubicon of not being a dupe, and you know what's going on, and you're doing this for President Trump, and you're rationalizing, this is good for the country, even though it's not right. It's good for President Trump to be reelected president, and we got to get Joe Biden out of the picture. So if you're doing it like that, then it's criminal. But if you don't, you say, oh, what a nice guy this guy's. And boy, I love this Ukrainian food that they're feeding me, delicious stuff. Boy, this is great. You know, I'm having a great time here in Ukraine. And then everybody says, oh, that's a good, I agree with that. You know, it could be very true. That you're a very intelligent man. I agree. Anything, you know, thank you so much, you know. And then you're like being sucked in. You're seduced in a form of seduction, you know. You're like being duped into this thing, you know. So the question is, to what degree, what did Rudy Giuliani know about this information in itself? Did he know it was false? Did he know he was being misled? So if he was just duped, then you could just say the guy, you know, he was duped. You know, he didn't know anybody. Talked to he was a prosecutor. He ran the offices which is now investigating him. You know, he's no stool. He's no stool. Stoolie. I mean, this is a man who really achieved a lot in terms of what he did for New York at some point. A lot of people say that a lot of things that they didn't like and this and that, and also, but he did have an impact on the crime in New York City, and he was very, very effective during the 9/11 attacks, and the attack in New York City. And I could see him now walking with his mask going through New York City, saying, "Well, that was a really a good mayor. They have that there now." That was my city where I was raised and brought up in the Bronx, saying, "Well, at least they're in good. My city's in good hands now." When I saw Rudy Giuliani walking through up to 9/11 with his mask on and going in there, so you know, you just have to. It is, you know, it's a very popular thing to say now, it is what it is. So this is what it is now, in the here and the now. So anyway, so here is Giuliani as the criminal saying, well, President Trump has got to get reelected. I know it's just false shit, but I'm gonna pass it along to U.S. intelligence anyway, because I know it was for good of the country. The other thing is, well, I had a great time, you know, and they treated me nice. They wouldn't give me false information, these people, these wonderful people. So here he is as the dupe. So there's Rudy Giuliani as the dupe. It's like that song, Duke of Earl, you know, dupe. So you go, dupe of Ukraine, dupe of Ukraine, dupe, you know. I just thought of that, dupe. And here he is as a real sharp guy who wants to get former President Trump then to be reelected and minimize the candidate Joe Biden. As a shrewd, real smart. And here he is as the dupe of Ukraine. Dupe. Okay, I like that song. Gene Chandler, 1961. Okay. The Duke of Earl. Okay, so that was that. Now here is the next numero. This is numero 3 de la semana, number 3 of the week. Here we have, I'll zoom this in. Here we have Susan Collins talking on her cell phone. And here we have, I'm sure you're going to recognize this guy, Mitch McConnell. I gave the name Sing Along Mitch, like the guy Mitch. That used to be a show, Sing Along with Mitch in the 60s, where the guy he led the band, everybody would sing along with Mitch. He had a beard, sing along. So I call him Sing Along with Mitch because he sings along he had sung along 100% with President Trump until only recently, you know. But here he is, thumbs up. There's Mitch McConnell on the cell with Susan Collins, who voted for the January 6th investigation or the for the commission. That again was bipartisan, and she offered a compromise bill. This was a bill that they put forth that would give them the right to establish this. So she voted for that bill, and she tried, and what she tried to do is do a compromise. And I think some of the Democrats agreed to do that compromise. So the Republicans just walked away. Mitch McConnell walked away from that. So my intuition would tell me, I heard that Mitch had tried to call up a few people who he knew were going to vote for this bipartisan commission. And so I kind of surmised he might have called Susan Collins because she was the one who had the compromise, and she also had voted against the impeachment against the conviction in the impeachment trial of former President Trump, saying that he learned a big lesson. And so he would most logically, if I had to pick anybody who he would call to try to, going beyond asking for them to do a personal favor, he wants them to put him before the country. Do him a personal favor. Forget the country. You do me a personal favor. I'm more important than the country. That's basically what he's saying. That's what we've come down to, is that Mitch McConnell now feels justified in asking his fellow Republicans for a personal favor. It's just like a personal favor. Oh, can you watch my dog tonight? I can bring my dog over to the house and take care of my dog while I go away as a personal favor. A personal favor. It's a personal favor. But forget the country. Country, it's the country. It'll be there tomorrow. Everything. But this is a personal favor. So the personal favors now come before the country in the Republican scheme of things, apparently so. But that wasn't enough. He went the extra mile, and he called people who he thought might be able, who were going to vote, like probably called Mitt Romney too. But I chose Susan Collins because I thought she would be the most vulnerable, the most vulnerable one to have gone along with him, and he would have thought that way. But she didn't. She stuck to her guns, and she voted for the commission. So applause to her for that. America could look at Susan Collins and say, well, there's a lady who at least stuck to her guns in the Senate, a Republican. Far few between that. So. I don't think he would have called Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. I don't think he would have called that. I don't think he would have bothered with Lisa Murkowski. I know, because she tangled with Trump. And anybody's going to tangle with Trump, he ain't going to mess with it because he knows that if she talks back to Trump, he's like a marshmallow, compared to that. So I know he didn't call Lisa Murkowski. You can bet that you could take to the bank. That's a Republican from Alaska who also voted for the commission. Okay, now, here goes the cartoon. Here we go. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell reportedly asked Republicans to vote against the January 6th bipartisan commission bill as a personal favor. That's his exact words. And went to the extent of reaching out to Republicans in support of the bill. The Republicans who were supporting the bill, he wanted to flip them and get them to vote against the bill that would authorize them to form a commission, a bipartisan commission, to investigate January 6th riot at the Capitol. Conceivable with Senator Susan, a call he had, this is a conceivable call, how it might have gone if he did, which my guts tell me he did, with Susan Collins, who has pitched a last-ditch compromise. So this is how it would have gone, using my political imagination. So there they are. Mitch, Susan Collins. Okay. Susan, I appreciate your positivity on a compromise bill, but voters do not compromise. They vote for or against our Republicans. So So nobody compromises when they go in a voting booth. There's no compromise there. You either vote for or against the Republican candidate. So, and then if you don't have President Trump's support, there are a lot of people going to be angry at you if you upset President Trump, former President Trump. So the bottom line is, the personal favor is to keep President Trump happy and keep the voters who are going to vote for Republicans happy. So that's what it all comes down to, in my view, okay? I remember you voted against convicting the former president in his first impeachment trial. So she voted against convicting former President Trump in that first impeachment trial. Now, here is Susan retorts. Here she's saying now. And this is basically what she did say for real. This is what she did say. I took her word. Mitch, Mitch, we need an independent, bipartisan January 6th commission so we can better understand this attack on our democracy. Back then, I did think then President Trump had learned a pretty big lesson after that first impeachment. So she's admitting that she might have been mistaken. She wasn't mistaken, but gravely mistaken. But she's admitting that she did think that he had learned a pretty big lesson at the time. And then here goes Mitch, retorting back here. Here goes Mitch. Susan, President Trump learned a pretty big lesson after his second impeachment, too. He learned a big lesson there, too. That is why he is supporting Republicans in key electoral states to advance bills to clamp down on ballot access. So that's why he's supporting all these laws that are being passed by Republican legislatures to limit voting rights, basically, for access to ballots. In terms of absentee ballots, in terms of keeping the polls open, in terms of not being able to give somebody a glass of water who's online, or a bite of a ham sandwich. You want a bite of my ham sandwich? You go to jail. Here's a bite. I see you're a little hungry right now for 3 hours. Here, take a bite of my ham sandwich. Okay, you're under arrest. That's it for you. You gave somebody a bite of your ham sandwich. Sorry, that's it. You got a conviction now for the rest of your life for giving somebody who's on food for who's waiting online. That bite cost you your future. That ham sandwich bite that you just gave to that person online waiting to vote cost you your future. And you may go even to jail now for a while, So anyway, that was it. So President Trump learned a pretty big lesson after his second impeachment, which was basically to avoid riots. You gotta stop the people from voting who voted against you, so you don't have to have riots at the Capitol, because you're going to win, because the people who voted against you the first time won't be able to vote. So you won't have. So you're saving the country and you're saving the Capitol from a riot. So that's the lesson. That's the pretty big lesson that he learned from his second big lesson from his second impeachment. All right, there you have it, folks. There it is. Mitch McConnell, Susan Collins. Okay, here's numero uno de la semana, number one of the week. Here is Pop Goes the Weasel. Here we have former president. Yeah, this is Allen Weisselberg. The joke is Pop Goes the Weasel. That's why I said that. Here it is. There he is. And President Trump's looking at him now. There's Allen Weisselberg. He was the chief financial officer of the Trump organization for many years, and he knows the financial landscape of the Trump organization like as good as nobody else better than that who knows the landscape there, like a tour guide who's been working at Disneyland for 30 years, he's ready to retire. He knows all the rides, and he knows all the stands and the restaurants, and he knows everything, that kind of thing. He knows the ropes. Here we go. Former President Donald Trump watches his chief financial officer of the Trump Organization, Alan Weisselberg, now under criminal investigation in connection with his own taxes. So there's a thing there where he had taken money for his grandchildren's education and kind of mingled it or something. There was something about it. I didn't follow that too closely, you know. Alan, he's not a politician, so there was something about that. So I'm not going to go into that, but he is entangled in some investigation regarding his taxes, and so is President Trump now. Amid reportedly the Manhattan DA convening a grand jury to consider evidence in a criminal investigation into the former president's business dealings. So two things going on now. He's Alan Weisberg. He's under his own investigation, and he's also, apart from the Trump Organization, they're investigating his personal finances, his personal taxes himself, and also in context with his connections and what he knew with the Trump Organization, and plus they're investigating the former President Trump on his tax dealings and his business dealings. So Alan Weisselberg is in the soup, you know, he's in tax soup, you know, with the federal government. So, you know, I guess President Trump might be a little worried that he could flip and do a deal and say, you know, okay, Weisselberg, we'll give you a slap on the wrist. You pay up what you owe us, and you give us, you know, the former president and stuff like that, you know. So, but he's a very, very loyal person. I read this. I did read Alan Weisselberg was very loyal to President Trump, and he might not do that, and he might just go. Like G. Gordon Liddy. Remember G. Gordon Liddy? Well, I know they're old enough to remember G. Gordon Liddy. He went to jail. He says if you don't talk against President Nixon, give us, well, you know, you're going to jail. Liddy, I'm going to jail. Yeah, bring it on, man. Bring it on. You know, he went into jail. He said, I'm going to jail. I can't wait to get. He didn't have to. G. Gordon Liddy. He wrote the book Will. That was his book. He said, I don't care. I can't wait to get there. You know, take me there now. You know, I don't want no last dinner. I'm ready to go. You know. I'm ready to go right now. Take me on. Take me there. You know, he had come up through the FBI, G. Gordon Liddy, and he was involved with the dirty tricks he ran the dirty tricks operation in the White House for then President Nixon during the Watergate era. So anyway, I don't want to go back there. That seemed pretty till today. That seemed pretty. That was like the thing. That seems like Mickey Mouse stuff now, breaking into Ellsberg's psychiatrist's office to get on the Pentagon Papers. All that sounds like Mickey Mouse stuff, you know, like opening a fire hydrant in somewhere, you know, and then in New York, in the Bronx, opening a fire hydrant. That's what it sounds like now. So everything is relative. But anyway, so this is a cartoon that was number 1 and it did great. And here's President Trump watching Weisselberg here. Alan Weisselberg. He's watching him and he's contemplating here about his problem, his Weisselberg's problems with the tax situation, with his own personal tax, Weisselberg's situation. And he's saying, look at this crook Weisselberg, who is under criminal investigation for his own taxes. If he flips on me, it will be pop goes the weasel for him. So he's going to go pop goes the weasel. You know, because nobody's going to believe him. Why should they believe him? A guy who basically he's under investigation himself for taxes. Why wouldn't he go ahead and tell them things about President Trump that just to get his own liability and his own criminal situation eased up, you know, dropping the charges. So, you know, so that's an argument that could be made, and it would be a good argument to make for any defense attorney for President Trump, because Weisselberg, you know, he's in his own deep tax situation. So anyway, folks, I want to thank you very much for watching my political cartoon countdown for this week. And I look forward, every week I say to myself, this is going to be the last week, nothing else can happen. And I say to myself, ready? It was a nice thing to get together with people. But sure enough, every week something else happens. So in any event, I want to wish you all the best. And again, thank you for watching this video. And take care of yourselves. And God bless you. And God bless America. And be well. And thank you very much. Until next time. Bye.